The hosts of Two Bored Apes are not registered investment advisors. The podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Nothing said on it should be construed as investment advice.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.
Welcome to episode 44 of Two Bored Apes. I'm your host, Jaime. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Roy. Roy, how are you?
I'm well. Like, literally, as you started talking, Rachel started shifting the desk. Like, she was just moving
Your
the
desk?
furniture in the room. The desk, yeah. So we share an office, and her desk is adjacent to my desk, and I guess she was pushing mine back, and she decided to do it as soon as we started recording. So,
Rachel, come on, that's BM.
mm-hmm. Anyway, aside from that, I'm well.
Good. You did not just eat a big meal.
I did not.
Unusual.
I had a snack a few hours ago. Yeah.
This is a Twitter Q&A episode, is it not?
It is a Twitter Q&A episode, yeah.
Should we jump right into the Qs?
Yeah, it's been a while.
All right, I'll start. The first question.
We had to do the jingle. Get to the jingle.
Oh, Twitter Q&A.
Twitter Q&A.
The first question comes from Haunted Mongrel. They said, if you could be placed tomorrow in a digital simulation of the world as it is today, later being completely oblivious that this isn't the real world, but knowing today that your consciousness will be perpetually reborn in new worlds after your digital death, would you do it? Why yes/no? It's funny that this is supposed to be an NFT podcast, but I'm happy to answer that. It's
tangentially related, like metaverse, digital.
I disagree. But anyway, my first question would be, does like something inhabit this real version of me such that I'm not abandoning all the people close to me? Like if I go to this digital world, who's going to co-host the podcast with you? If something takes over for that, I think I'd be down with it. But if I'm abandoning everybody that relies on me and stuff, I don't think I could do it.
What if we're already in a simulation?
Yeah, I mean,
and then
what if? I was big into that simulation theory idea, like
I remember
15 years. It was a long time ago, but I was like, oh, that's an interesting thought.
I don't think it was that long ago, but I don't know. Maybe
I feel like it was. I think we're older than you're willing to admit.
Yeah. Yeah, I added this question because it was just blew my mind reading it. And all right,
do you have an answer for it? You're not answering it.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with your answer. Like, I like it. It sounds appealing. Just sort of perpetually reborn into new worlds. Yeah. Why wouldn't I do that? It's.
Well, one possible answer to why you wouldn't is that, like, if you read history books or science fiction or whatever, like, life is so terrible sometimes in some places, like really, really terrible. And it might just be worth it to avoid those.
Yeah. And like, then we get into the whole immortality discussion. And let's say I want to, at some point, stop being perpetually reborn in new worlds. Do I have that option? Or am I just literally the rest of forever just living?
Right. The heat death of the universe. Somehow you're still just kind of thinking like, it's so boring. Nothing to do.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah. Or did you have something more to say?
No, but I read the last one. So
okay. Cosmic Chaos says, first of all, how are you? And secondly, your thoughts on Gmoney, AINightbird, Goblintown, and Inner Circle.
I don't know what Inner Circle is off the top of my head. Should I? Oh, okay.
I don't know what it is either. How are you, Jaime?
I'm good. Yeah. Can't complain. I mean, I'm good. Yeah, personally, I'm
good. Prefer the market to be a little bit less?
I was actually not thinking about that, but just the insanity that is my country.
Right, yeah.
That's a whole other ball of worms or something.
All right.
Gmoney just released some sort of ticket NFT that's something. I think he's making a marketplace that is curated or something. I haven't looked into it much at all.
My understanding of the marketplace, at least so far, is that it's literally just for his NFT and his NFTs, and it's just 0% fees, and just so that, well, A, to
What
save fees.
NFTs does he have?
So now it's this one, and then he had the Adidas Into the Metaverse. He's a partner there, so that's going to be on there. And then he
Okay.
released a Brick Breaker game. It was the first of something. I remember like some new technology came out or something came out, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna release a game." Oh, I remember what it was. It was as soon as Yuga bought Lava Labs and then gave the commercial rights. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna use my punk and create a game out of it." And so that is an NFT. Anyway, so he has this marketplace that lists these. I don't know if he's going to expand it into other things, but uh, the whole thing is it's like there's a thousand NFTs. Yeah, the NFT is a ticket, and it's like a private Discord group, very similar to Proof. It seems. It was a free mint, and the floor is like 10 ETH now.
Wow. I
Yeah.
should have minted it, I guess.
Well, it wasn't public, so he
Free.
right. Well, so over the last, I don't know, a year, he's been running events in person, online groups, seminars, etc., and giving out POAPs. And so I think like 700 of the 1,000 were just to people that like were fans of his, following him on Instagram or YouTube videos or attending his conferences or seminars, etc. Which I think is really just a cool way to use POAPs and reward people.
Yeah.
Was a really, really valuable thing. And then the last, I think 200 of them were just sort of he just decided he chose people he respected.
300 by my math.
All right, 200 were for like I think to give out to people that he chose, and then 60 were reserved for people who helped build it, maybe like the site and development and that kind of stuff, and then 30 for future allocations to like giveaways, collabs, whatever.
And then there should be 10 more by my
There's 10
count.
more. I don't know what the last 10 is.
Pretty impressive that you knew that many specifics up until
Yeah.
now.
I bought one at 7 ETH this
Jesus.
morning, and then like an hour later, it was the floor was 15 ETH, but then now it's back down to 10. So it's I don't know. I'm bullish on the
Price
membership
discovery
club
is still
things.
happening very much. It
Yeah.
seems quite
Yeah.
early. AI Nightbird.
Have you been following
Which-
that?
I mean, vaguely. I saw the pictures. I saw Kevin Rose wanted them to change the name. I saw that they did.
Mm.
And that's about the extent of my knowledge of them. I actually just bought an AI piece of art on Tezos this morning because I saw somebody tweet it and I said that looks good. The end.
Yeah, AI Nightbird. Excuse me, AI Nightbird. I had been seeing them on Twitter for like a week prior to launch, and they looked really cool. Yeah, I'm a little bummed I don't have any of them. I think that
But is there like one for each one? I don't actually know the structure of it.
There's 10K of them, and they just took the 10K Moonbirds and used ran them through an AI thing filter.
Again, I guess.
Yeah, and released them. I can't remember what the breakdown was. I think maybe some were free, and then the rest were 0.05 ETH. And then they shot up to like 0.15, 0.2 and sat there for ages. And then Kevin Rose tweeted and said, you know, we're going to ask OpenSea to sort of remove certain collections using the Moonbird's name.
Right.
Which I think is quite fair. And it's a similar policy to sort of Yuga has.
It
where
is.
You can use.
Yeah, I saw you tweeted at somebody that said, you know, apes have the exact same policy. And, you know, I'm 95% agree because they do, obviously. But when your title is just one word, Moonbirds, like that, it feels like it's harder to, and maybe this is delusional of me to say, but harder to make a name that is clearly supposed to be an homage and derivative of it than it is with something longer like Bored Ape Yacht Club, where you could maybe theoretically use one or two or three of the words, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Also, I'm thinking, sorry, my father-in-law started watching. I had multiple father-in-laws because it doesn't matter, but started watching the podcast and told me I need a green screen because you can see into the room. And like now, I just have a bunch of clothes hanging over it because I'm kind of lazy and dirty. I don't know. It seemed funny to me.
You see the virtual background.
But am I ashamed of what's going on here? Or I guess I could throw something up behind me that looks cooler maybe, but.
What were we talking about? AI.
We were talking about AI
Nightbird.
Nightbirds, which I
Yeah,
guess used to be called AI Moonbirds. Is that
AI
where it
Moonbirds.
started?
Yeah, there was a bunch of controversy after Kevin and like heated discussion when he tweeted that, and people were like, "Oh, it's so Web 2 of you. This is Web 3." Rah rah
Right.
rah. But it seemed fairly short lived. I think they jumped on a Twitter Spaces and discussed it, and
Yeah.
then within like a few hours, they had changed their name, and then Kevin Rose tweeted out in support of them, and the floor price just rocketed up because he was like, "Hey, these are cool," to like 2 million followers.
Yeah. I also think it's weird. Like, you sort of hear people complaining about how things aren't Web 3,
Mm.
but it's like he's not going to the Ethereum miners and trying to invalidate the transaction. Like, it's strange to me because
Yeah,
the point is that you don't need his permission to make the NFTs and
yeah.
all of that stuff. And to me, that's within the Web3 ethos. He's just saying, hey, like, we have a trademark for this name. Can you not use it? Which I feel like is valid in Web 2, 3, 1,
Yeah.
non-web. Now I'm self-conscious
He's
about
very
it.
self-conscious. Jamie is removing the dirty clothes from his chair now. um,
Oh my god, look how professional this looks now.
so professional. I wanted to say, yeah. So I was in the comments of that original tweet replying to a couple of people, and someone said, this isn't a Web 3, and I asked, well, what's your definition of Web 3? And I don't think they answered me, or I haven't seen the answer, but I think it's everyone has different definitions. But like you said, Jamie's now pulling up his new Bored Ape Yacht Club shirt and
I got like Toby
logo.
Hair's tagline on me too.
All right, AI Moonbirds. I like them. The art is amazing.
They're not
I'm
AI
probably
Moonbirds, right? Please do not use
AI.
that name.
Oh boy, I screwed that up. AI Nightbirds. I like them. The art is amazing. I have zero. But I'm probably
Yeah,
gonna
can we talk
pick one
about
up.
AI art, or maybe we'll get sidetracked?
We
But there is a
we
sameness to
yeah.
all of it that is I'm still trying to work through. Like, I think
Mm,
like Botto is sort of a big one, but there's others, and now we have these AI Moonbirds, and I kind of think all of them look cool and interesting, but it's very hard to like. Is the algorithm different or exactly the same? I have no idea. What is differentiating them other than sort of the input, which I guess maybe is enough, but like I don't know. Do you follow
yeah.
me? I mean, I think you
I
must.
kind of do, and I'm no expert on AI art by any means. In my mind, it's like constantly improving just as the technology gets better. So,
Hmm.
um, but as you said, there's a sameness to it that it's hard to shake, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's hard to value. I guess is another way to put it. And like within, I don't know, 12 hours of AI Nightbirds going crazy. Actually, within an hour, I was tagged in a post. AI Goblintown
yeah,
and AI Bored Apes, and it's just like now it's just like this derivative meme meta where there's dozens and dozens of them.
right.
Which yeah, whatever.
Because it's
But
such a like a type of art, I guess, where you're purely harnessing the power of computers and sort of
yeah,
like code that some smart people made a long time ago to
yeah,
do all of the sort of heavy lifting.
yeah.
But I also think it would be dismissive. I was going to say it would be dismissive of us to dismiss it, but I that doesn't sound as elegant as I was hoping the sentence would be. But ultimately, on some level, it is just a tool, and certainly, I would think artistic people will be able to use it in an artistic and unique way.
Yeah.
To me, it is the way that they all look. There's such a sameness to it
Mm,
um, that makes it hard to differentiate one project from another.
yeah. I mean, I kind of want to go down a rabbit hole here and be like, discuss like the or contrast it to generative art because that's code based art, and if you're coding an AI, that's code as well. And but maybe we don't need to get down that.
The code is it's so crazily different what's
Yeah,
happening behind the scenes. But we're about to get sidetracked.
Goblin
Let's talk
Town.
about Goblintown. Now, Goblintown, I sort of just missed. Like, I've been such a gardener slash basketball
Mm,
watcher for the last couple of weeks that like all of a sudden I just kind of randomly checked in and everybody was talking about these goblins and they had a
yeah.
1/8 floor or something. Um, so I can barely speak to him,
Mm,
especially to the degree you can. And we were on a Twitter Spaces the other day, and we talked about them a little there as well. And I did talk about how I found it to be so within the zeitgeist of the NFT space, and I thought
Mm,
that really helped. In the same way that at the beginning, the Bored Ape Yacht Club was very much playing into what was happening and what people were feeling in the crypto and NFT space at
mhm,
the time.
yeah.
But actually, as far as following Goblintown, I don't really know much about it.
So I found out about it. I think the night it minted. I don't know if it like launched a couple of days earlier, and then it like how a lot of projects just like they're dead for 2 days, and then people decide, oh, this is cool, and mint it. Kind of like how it happened with the Bored Apes. But anyway, I heard about it the night everyone started minting it and went crazy. I think I was doing a podcast recording,
It was
or
free.
it was a free mint, yeah. Or I was in calls, and then I heard someone mention it in the ZenAcademy Alpha chat. Someone mentioned it in Proof, and I had two different people DM me about it because I often get DMs from people saying, "Hey, I think you'd like this project, etc." or like friends, not just spam emails. So I pay them attention. But yeah, originally I saw them in the Discords and I was like, just dismiss it. Like you see a million projects. I usually don't click
Yeah.
on them, go to the website. But then when I got a couple of DMs and one of them said, I think you'd like it, free mint, etc. How do you feel about free mints? And I clicked on the website and the website just immediately is well made. It's good art. It's got
Yeah, you'd
nice
said this in the
music.
spaces that the
Yeah,
website impressed you and passed your
very
sort of
thematic.
10-second check.
Pass the 10-second check and hit all the right buzzwords to get me to if it was open for mint or buy on secondary, it's like free mint, CC0, no roadmap. Like that those are the
Yeah.
buzzwords that pull at my ETH purse strings or NFT heartstrings. And so, but yeah, I had missed the mint. They were all gone. But on secondary, they were like 0.03 or something, which, yeah, I mean, all of that plus, like you said, Goblintown had been in the zeitgeist. It's a meme.
Yeah.
It's like, I had heard that phrase 50 times on Twitter this year.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's power in memes, and it just seemed to me like a good project worth taking an asymmetrical bet on, as the nerds say. Um,
One other thing I wanted to mention that I just remembered is there was rumors floating around that it was
mm,
a secret Yuga project. That was just also a thing people were saying. I think
yeah,
maybe probably not much credence to it, but it's a
yeah.
thing that people were saying certainly.
I think because in that leaked Yuga deck, there was
Right. The
a
word goblin was
1%.
in there or
Yeah.
something.
But yeah, I mean, we still don't know who's behind Goblintown, but I'm almost certain that it's not Yuga. It just doesn't seem at all like them. And
Yeah.
a lot of people agree. Like, there's a McDonald's hat trait. There's a trait with like Azuki meme stuff on the shirt that doesn't seem
And
like,
it seems like they are sort of, I would think, happy with like their branding and stuff and want to let people
right.
know, hey, this is under our umbrella.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess you can't be sure.
I heard a rumor again that someone was like, "Oh, Beeple's behind it," and again, that just seemed kind of crazy
Right.
to
He's
me.
busy with the 10K TF
Hmm.
stuff, it seems like. But
And
he's
everything else.
and his regular art, yeah.
Mm.
Um, anything else? Or are we gonna move on to, we can't really talk about
Um,
Inner Circle because we both don't know about it, so maybe a little bit more on this.
yeah. I I was in a Twitter space like 2 nights ago, uh, hosted by the Goblintown Twitter account, and it had a bunch of people.
Oh,
I don't know if they were like team members or
this
what.
is
They're just
the big
Goblin
one from the other
PFPs.
day where it was just an hour of groaning or whatever.
It was like 4 hours of just Goblin sounds,
Yeah, I heard
which
about it but did not
yeah,
participate.
I was in tears just, and I couldn't leave, and I was just like, "What is going on?" And it was just so funny. And then every now and then, like they'd bring up a speaker that would like try and talk, and
They
they'd
would
be
just
like,
get groaned.
"Human, human," and they brought like K Money up, and he was talking about building, and then they were memeing around that. It was just a really fun space,
Yeah.
and this whole project is fun at a time when the whole market has been a
Now,
little
can you give me
depressed.
the like price graph? Like it
Mhm.
started free. Where did it peak, and where is it now? Basically,
Started it free. It hovered around, I think, 0.03 to 0.05 for a few hours, and then I think
and
the
there's ten
night
thousand of them.
10,000 of them. Uh, Interestingly, 1,000 have been reserved by the team. Um, and then so point two, I think it's sat between point one and point two for a day, maybe a day and a half, and then it just started running. I can't remember what the catalyst was. If
FOMO, right?
Right, yeah, actually, yeah.
Ultimately,
So it
that's
started running at a certain point, and then got up to like point 0.8, and then back down to point 0.5 for a while, and then the sandbox official account came in and swept like a bunch of them and paid 26 ETH for a one of one. And then like an hour or two later, someone else paid, I think, 70 ETH for a one of one. And
That's a
that
lot.
it's a lot. And that like the whole space was talking about him, and they were like FOMO price was running up. And then I think that was the night they had the spaces as well. And it was just like the entire NFT space. Everyone was talking about Goblintown. And so that they went up to 2.5 ETH. And then I think now they're back down to like 1.5.
All right.
Yep.
And Inner Circle we don't know about. There was
I don't,
like
unless it's
an
the circle.
888-777
Oh,
something.
888 Inner Circle. If it's that, then yeah, I haven't heard about it for like 4 months.
I was going to say it's because
like
these are
faded
all
away.
very current ones that they're asking about aside from that one. So it seems like theoretically they're
Yeah.
asking about a newer Inner Circle that neither of us have heard about.
There's the Circle, which is like a Discord competitor project that Satvik and a few other people have been building, but I don't think
Satvik?
it's Satvik. He's
I don't know that
I don't know, just
name.
someone I know on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next question then.
All right.
CGen says, what do you recommend for someone who wants to begin collecting and learning about art on Tezos? Where to begin? Thank you for any suggestions you may have and for all the content you put out. You're welcome to that last part, although they're probably saying that more to you.
What I mean, you're probably more into Tezos and collecting art and learning about it than me, especially lately. Where would you suggest a person begins?
Well, you could go to Object, OBJKT, I believe it is. Start there. That's sort of the biggest overall marketplace. Although I did actually see, maybe just within the last 36 hours, somebody had tweeted that FX Hash itself had just surpassed them in terms of transactions in the last 24 hours or something like that. But yeah, so if you're kind of looking for a general marketplace or the equivalent of OpenSea, I would say Object is the way to go. And luckily the prices of the NFTs on that blockchain plus the gas is such that if you're truly just going to collect art, you don't even really need to do much research ahead of time because there's just so much available for so cheap. And again, there's cheap NFTs, but when you're talking about something that costs 0.005 F, and then you have to pay 0.02 just for gas, it's not the same thing as on Tezos, where the gas is truly a rounding error, even to a very small price. So yeah, you can just start there and look around. Now, if you're into generative art specifically, you're going to want to look at FX Hash, which is sort of, I would say, they're equivalent to art blocks, although it's a much more open platform without the level of curation at all, really, that happens on art blocks. So, there's pros and cons to that, I think, is probably the easiest way to say that. But just tons of stuff on there that's cheap and that looks interesting to, anybody that finds art interesting is going to be able to find something there that appeals to them because there's just so many projects.
Yeah.
So those would be my just two first suggestions because, this question is rather general. And I have no idea what their tastes are or anything, but those would be the two places I would say to begin. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was going to add to that, I guess more specifically on the generative art FX Hash side. Join their Discord. I think it's just a great place to be. And then selfishly in the ZenAcademy Discord, we have a art and a FX Hash thread, which I think there's a bunch of good resources in there. And then two people to follow on Twitter that I think are posting really good content. Callow.xyz and mattw.tez.
Matt W for sure. I was going to mention as well.
Yeah.
So he basically will give you a good, it's maybe not exactly daily, but close to it, rundown of kind of what's been happening in some of the top projects on FX Hash. So if your budget's a little bit bigger and you want to spend, maybe 100 Tez on a piece or something like that, if that's something that you can do, Matt's tweets will definitely give you some information about what's sort of been hot and cold in the upper echelons of the FX Hash market.
And the price of Tez, just to put that into, I think it's like $2 or $1.80.
I think it's $1.80 was the last number I saw.
So 100 Tez, $180. No
Which
gas,
again, for an FNFT, that would be the low end, but that's a little bit definitely on the higher end for
Yeah, there's a
Tezos.
lot you can get for 1 Tez, for 3
Yeah.
Tez, for 5
And
Tez.
now
Yeah.
just if this person happens to be a whale or something approaching it, I would say the biggest names on Tezos are Zancan for generative art, and then
Mhm.
John for non-generative art.
John with about 20 J's.
I think officially it's 7 or 9
Yeah.
J's, and then OHN. His real name, I believe, is John Carroll. But
Mm.
those are just the two biggest artists that I can think of over there. I guess the founder of FX Hash, Sifford,
Mm.
is also rather
I would
big.
say Cyphered.
Yeah, that's probably better, to be honest. Probably more accurate.
Yeah. Yazid as well, I think is really great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a lot we could really
once
keep
you
going.
start doing that, there's no end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a pretty good answer, I think.
Yeah. Next question is actually by one of the people just mentioned, callow.xyz. And they say, we have seen how the NFT market, I think, moves in waves towards
Bless you.
specific types of NFTs. One-of-ones, PFPs, generative art gaming. What's the next NFT trend? Any guesses? Now, obviously, we don't know what the next trend is. No one can really know that.
Right. Well, the any guesses part kind of implies that, right?
Yeah. What do you have any guesses?
I don't have a super specific guess, but I do think I've just been feeling a little bit more lately like there is security in the NFTs that are definitely not securities.
Hmm.
Meaning basically the stuff that's pure art and that is promising you absolutely nothing. I think that the best stuff of that is probably a really good bet because you don't have that execution risk that people talked about, and you don't have any of the legal risk. And that's basically my answer. Is that I feel like that keeps your downside sort of protected, and then so all you have theoretically, in a sense, is the upside. But I've talked about my sort of negative feelings on gaming and metaverse land for a long time, so I still feel the same way about them. So definitely not that. And I feel like profile pictures really had a nice euphoric peak in like January or whatever. And again, I've talked about this a lot on the podcast. The supply is just so high for the amount of people in the space, and I also think again it's very much a type of NFT that, in theory, everybody really only needs like one. Whereas if you get into art collecting, you want more than one piece of art. And so that's probably my answer.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer, and I kind of agree. I think we're going through like the trend. I would say is one-of-one art and generative art at the moment. That's sort of like generative art is pumping, and it's just like the entire market is bleeding, but FX Hash is going absolutely crazy. We've seen art blocks drops like I mean there was one Horos, forgetting the name. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, Horo, I think.
Horror, yeah. It has like what do you call the symbols above the letters?
An accent or an
Accents, yeah.
umlaut or something. I don't
Yeah.
remember specifically what they
So
are.
I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but anyway, it minted at like 0.2 to 0.3 and then ran up to like a 2 ETH.
And it's a factory project too, not a
project.
which is
Yeah.
rare.
And just generally art blocks, I think, has like price wise, there's been a lot of stability perhaps where a lot of other areas have been crashing 50, 80%. And then obviously FX Hash has just been going bonkers. So yeah, safety in art.
The other thing I wanted to say is that, in terms of what is maybe next, a better answer might be something that literally we don't know about, right? Because the idea of profile picture projects in the way that we see them now really didn't come around until when I think it is fair to say that Bored Ape was the first one, because again, punks might get mad at that or whatever, but the Larva Labs wasn't doing anything with them. And again, that's fine. That's a different thing. But this idea of having a roadmap and making merch and just, sidekick airdrops, although I guess in some sense Meebits was that too.
Mm.
Um, that was just a new thing, and it became the biggest thing. So somebody will surely come up with a unique use case for NFTs that nobody's done before, that nobody's really thought of. That's going to do great. I mean, you can look at things like Proof Collective as like another sort of type that has succeeded. Um, and I assume that beyond our answer of just the pure art stuff, there's going to be something else that comes up that we don't really understand.
Mm.
That'll do really well, I think.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. It's like asking what's going to be the great next invention. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're right though. Something probably new, unexpected, not been done before.
Yeah,
Innovative. Yeah.
it seems like with these profile picture projects, there's also a lot to it where they're sort of trying to capture all of the things. Because the NFT itself is giving you a little bit of that same Proof Collective thing where it's an access
Hmm.
pass to this community. But then they're also trying to make games, so they're gaming assets as well, and
Yeah.
it's like um, sort of all inclusive in a way. And I think there's going to be something new and unique. But again, who even knows what that means?
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Um, you're up next.
Old Jew says OLJU. By the way, I'm not saying old Jew. What can we expect from ZenAcademy at NFT.NYC? This is a good question
Take it
for
away,
me to
Jaime.
read. No, see, that's funny. Yeah, what are we
Yeah.
expecting, Roy? What's going to happen?
So we sent out save the dates this week. June 23rd, we are having an event at Housing Works bookstore, which is
I love bookstores.
I love bookstores too, and they're very on theme for Zen Academy, education, etc., etc. It's a bookstore. It's a huge bookstore, and which
In Manhattan, or do you not
I
know these
believe it's
things?
Manhattan. I believe it's Manhattan, but don't quote me on that. The address is the address. If you look it up, the Zen Academy Twitter account, we've tweeted it out and it has it on there, and in announcements in the Discord.
Tell me the name
But
of the bookstore one more time.
Housing Works, yeah, Housing Works bookstore. It's yeah, it's cool. It's a great space, and they turn it into like an event space. So it's not some random bookstore that we're just having an event in, but they have like weddings and other big things there. So 3 to 6 p.m. It's just going to be a chill place. Come meet other Zen Academy members. It'll be token gated. We're using token proof, which I chatted with the founder of that last night. It's just a really cool um way to like prove ownership of a NFT using your smartphone in like physical places. And yeah, 3 to 6 p.m. Meet and greet. There'll be food. There'll be drinks. There'll be
It is
some
Manhattan.
is Manhattan. Yeah, there'll be some surprises, and it should be fun. And that's Zen Academy. We actually have a brunch that we're hosting in collaboration with Meta Angels and Curious Addies. Um, I actually don't know the date off the top of my head. I want to say it's the 22nd morning. Um, anyway, details are in the Discord, and we'll be sending out like a flyer with like all the events that we're running coming up soon. But
A digital flyer.
digital flyer for sure, uh, and that'll be cool. So, and then the 333 Club, we have a separate event that's going to be on the 22nd night, and it's most likely
The
a
night of the
dinner.
22nd.
The night of the 22nd, the 22nd night.
That one sounds different. It sounds like you're saying a different thing when you say the 22nd night.
The
There's only like 3 nights.
22nd of
NFTNYC.
June 2022. A lot of twos.
Yeah,
And
spooky.
yeah, details of that. We're just finalizing the location, but we have a caterer, and yeah, we have everything sort of lined up. It should be fun. It's gonna be so crazy. There are 10 different events that I want to go to every single day.
Yeah,
And that's
tough.
just, I mean, Ape Fest. That's just every day, basically.
Right.
Proof Moonbirds has a thing. Creature World has a thing that sounds like it's going to be amazing. Doodles. I mean, I could just go on and on and on.
Yeah, it's when you're a part of every community and have every NFT
Yeah.
like you, it's just an embarrassment of riches. I think I'm like 99.5% to be at the bookstore thing. Sounds up my
That's
alley
good.
for sure.
Yeah.
I still haven't booked any things, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to be there. Let's see. Next question.
Next question. Leb Braverman says, "What do you think about the Little Nouns model for new NFT projects? This is this better than 10K sets, or will 10K be replaced by new formats? Do you know about the Little Nouns?
A little bit, because I think it's basically nouns, but cheaper, and maybe they happen every 15 minutes or hour or
Hmm.
something instead of every
15
24
minutes.
hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but I don't think it works unless you sort of already have a community and they're sort of tapping into the nouns
Mm.
community, which I guess
They had
is,
no community. They started.
right. Um, but there's been 1,000 of these 10K projects that have worked
Right.
and successfully built sort of a community, whereas only nouns has done it that way. Um, and had like sort of one of the biggest people in the entire space behind it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think it'll be tougher to make these communities doing it that way, but some will succeed probably.
Yeah.
And the way that they've successfully tapped into the nouns community does make it seem like this is probably possibly a good use case for other CC0 projects in order to
Mm.
bootstrap your own community by using the popularity of them. And theoretically, the idea of taking these ones that have a high price point and giving people a lower entry to it with a sort of um, sanctioned because you don't need
Mm.
to be sanctioned derivative project. It's also in terms of like if you already have a plan in place, you're getting funding so much slower with this model
Mm.
than with a successful mint out of the other thing. So you'll have to have a different idea for how you're going to sort of build this project and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's just the way that the money is coming in is very different.
Yeah. I think I'm fascinated by the model. I think it's really it's different, and I guess I have been a little surprised that more projects hadn't like taken the nouns model and done something with it up until now, really. But because it just sort of like aligns incentives so much, you mint and the money is going into a DAO that you have a direct vote over what happens with it. It's not going to a team um, per se that's going to do whatever with it. It's just it goes into a DAO, a treasury that you have access to. So
Right.
yeah, to me, it's really really cool and interesting. I hope we see more of it. But
Yeah, I'm always on
yeah,
board for different things being tried because it's not interesting and not generally helpful to have the 70-second
mm,
project doing the same exact
yeah,
thing. And it also, like a lot of us that are big proponents of NFTs talk about how it's just sort of a vessel for just proving ownership of a digital thing. But when we
mm,
have like just so many profile picture projects of the 10K generative variety, when people hear NFTs, they think of a very small thing that is just not as potentially powerful and interesting and world
yeah,
changing as the technology can be, but because they have just this very understandably narrow definition of what an NFT is.
yeah, 100%. Um,
Nice muting of the mic on that cough, Roy.
Thank you, thank you. This cough has been around for a month. It's so yesterday I think Rachel was like, "You should go see a doctor," and I was like, "That's a good idea."
That's a brilliant idea.
It didn't even cross my mind. And I went to the pharmacy today to get some more cough syrup, and I told them, I've had this cough for a few weeks now, and they were like, You should see a doctor." And yeah, good thinking. So I'll probably see a
And so, are
doctor.
you going to do that
Well, I fly to Dubai tomorrow, and maybe when I'm there, I can find. But if it's still persistent when I get back, then yes, I will see a doctor.
now? I was going to start asking you questions about the cough, but I don't know anything, and it's probably not interesting to the listeners.
Yeah,
So I'm not
it,
gonna.
I don't believe it's COVID. I've tested negative.
Well, yeah, if you tested negative, that's a great indicator that it's not that.
Mhm.
I was going to ask about like painful or and Do you know the difference between a productive cough and an unproductive cough?
Like if it's productive, it's expelling phlegm, and if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
unproductive, it's dry. Yeah, it's
Or
the unproductive variety.
I don't like those ones as
I
much.
don't like them either. Not that I like the other type.
I kind of do like the other
Oh
type.
god. All right, let's next question. Next
It's
question.
like scratching an itch or whatever, right? It's accomplishing it. Anyway, um, Croco Vivint says, "How do you market your NFT collection?"
It's a big
Probably depends
question.
on what. Yeah, it is a good question. It depends on what your NFT collection is to some degree, right? I mean, when I
Mhm.
was doing abstract of the day, generally I would tweet a picture of the newest one, and then in a link, in a tweet below that as a reply, I would put a link to it. That was the
Mhm.
main thing that I would do. And for something as simple as like a one of day art piece, that makes a lot of sense, right? You're
Mhm.
the people that are interested in your stuff are already following you on social media. In order to get the totality of everything that it is, it's just a piece of art. It's an image. So there you go. Um,
Yeah.
but if you have something more complicated, like a lot of people do, it's a more multifaceted answer.
Have you seen the uh like meme image thing, like pie chart graph going around? So I forget who created it, but it's like two different pie charts. On the one hand, and it's just like artist is the main heading, and then on one side it is like 80% of the pie, and 20% of the pie. The 20% is creating art, for artists, and then the 80% is um sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's like 1970s. And then it's like
Yeah,
2022, it's
marketing.
art, and then the
Yeah,
80% is social media.
yeah, I did
Yeah,
see that. Kind of
and it's
funny.
true. Yeah,
It's sort
it's
of true, I think.
kinda true. Yeah.
I think a lot of the older successful artists were quite good at marketing and did a lot of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it was just their version of marketing was a little bit closer to sex, drugs, and rock and roll, whereas now it's a little bit closer to being a social media manager in a
Yeah.
way. Um,
Anyway,
yeah,
how do you market your NFT collection? I think I mean, again, there's so many different ways to answer that, but you sort of touched on it already. It's like social media, tweeting, utilizing social media to reach people, and I think that that is just it's necessary, and it's about reaching as many people as you can. Well, first of all, it's having a product that people are interested in
yeah.
and
I
is
mean,
exciting. Like that is really it's
marketing
almost the most
nothing
important
is
thing.
not
Yeah,
interesting, right?
yeah. It's like I mean, even using Goblintown as an example, it's people say like I can't believe this crappy project came up out of nowhere while people have been working hard for months and months, and yeah, it is
Just a
sad to
lot of
see.
sour grapes in the space, isn't there?
Yeah. But I can kind of like understand the frustration having worked for 6 months on a project that is not taken off, and then all of a sudden these goblins come out of nowhere. But
Right.
like product market fit, it was like the right meme at the right time, well executed, free mint, um, and the community ran with it. And I mean, they didn't really have to market too much at all. The community did it for them. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess understanding your target audience and then figuring out how you can best market to them and connect with them. Um, yeah, is just yeah, this is such a huge
And now,
topic that there's a lot
do
to
you see
go
like a
into.
difference between people who are sort of marketing in the sense that they're saying, here's a thing that would be helpful to you versus the people that are going like, why won't people support me? You know what I mean? Like there's a
Mm.
difference
Oh,
between
yeah.
marketing and just, you know, because there's a lot of it where people have projects or art and they're not even saying um come to my stuff. They're trying to use other people's success as a reason why it's stupid that they don't have success. You know what I
Mm.
mean? They're going, I can't believe people are spending all this money on this. Other people's art. You should be buying mine. Mine is better. I worked harder at it. I worked longer at it. It's more complicated, or whatever their argument is.
Mm.
And I think many people find that off-putting. And
Oh, yeah.
people are only human, and you're allowed to have emotions and voice them and stuff, but you have to think about what you are what image you're putting out there
Mm.
if your goal is to try and sell these things.
Yeah. Yeah. "Comparison is the thief of joy," is a quote that a lot of people have been throwing around lately, and I think is appropriate for that situation and many in the NFT space.
Yeah, another thing I'll mention, I remember we did a Twitter Q&A a long time ago, and somebody was basically saying, why isn't Roboto successful?
Mm,
And they had a floor of like 1.2 at the time, back
yeah.
when F was like $3,000. And I think that's another issue where the degree to which the top projects, the top artists are just
Mm,
unreasonably successful means you can be successful. And again, you're doing the comparison being a thief of joy thing. Like, sorry, to me, a project where you have 10,000 NFTs and each one costs over $3,000, like that's successful. Now,
yeah.
I mean, in some theoretical sense, if you had a mint price of 3F or whatever, okay,
Right.
now it's
Right.
not so much. But that was not the case with
No.
Robotos in that case, or probably a lot of these artists that have better sales than 98% of other people trying to sell NFTs
Yeah.
and still find a way to complain about it and feel like they aren't successful.
Yeah. Oh boy. My
Bad job muting your mic on that one, Roy. Oh my god. For our listeners, Roy just his entire microphone stand is now separated from.
How's this sound? Is it good? I'm just holding
That's
my mic.
good. I
There's no
remember when
background.
I was trying to do that a long time ago, which is how I wanted to. It seemed like it was
Yeah, there's a
kind
lot
of
of rustling when you were
right,
doing
but
it.
I'm not hearing that when you're doing it, which is
Okay.
nice.
Well, I'm gonna keep holding it then.
Do
Um,
some stand-up comedy. It looks like you should be.
what's the deal with
Yeah,
NFTs? What's the deal with all these free mints? That's the next question.
because it doesn't say
Sir,
what's the deal with, but it does say our.
yeah, Sir Cray says, "Are free mints the new meta?" Uh, I mean,
They've been part of the meta for a long time. I don't think they're ever
yeah,
going to be the whole meta, though, right? I mean, there's been a lot
yeah.
of successful free mint projects all throughout, and if CryptoPunks were free.
CryptoPunks, yeah, is this big one. NFT Worlds is another big one that people go
Loot
point
was
to.
huge.
Loot was
Excuse
huge.
me.
Goblintown obviously is a more recent example, and
Yeah.
the Gmoney thing is a recent example. Yeah, I mean, I think we go through phases as well where uh free mints sort of resonate, like, or like capture the zeitgeist more often than others. And I mean,
Is it
yeah,
just a
like you
thing
said,
where we're in sort of the immediate aftermath of a successful project
yeah,
of any format, release type, etc., you're going to have more copycats after
I
it.
think
And
so.
so, because of the success of Goblins, we should expect a bit more of the free mints right now,
Hmm.
maybe
I think so. I think
for a
that's,
short time at least.
yeah. Um, yeah. I do think that, like, there is something nice about the idea of a free mint. Um, if you're trying to grow like a really strong community and build value, and align incentives, because you presumably, if you're trying to generate revenue, you'll do it off either secondary market royalties or by holding back part of the supply, and they're
Yeah,
both uh, contingent on the floor price going up and there being demand for people wanting to buy these things.
right. There's also, I would say, right now, and let's see, it's May 27th right now as we're recording, just an overall bearishness in the market
Mm,
in total. It basically in every asset class in the whole world, but
yeah,
specifically in cryptos and NFTs, people don't feel like they have as much money as they did recently, and they don't for the most part. So the idea of doing like Dutch auctions at 3 ETH or whatever is just
right.
that's much less. I want to say tolerable or swallowable, but that's not the word quite I want.
Palatable.
Palatable, thank you.
Mm,
Right now, as it would be in more of a boom time, and so in that sense, there is also going to be more people that are gravitating towards the free mints. You might
yeah,
also, unfortunately, have more people that are just going to try and cash out early,
yeah,
with them to just feel better about their financial position in a way that, if you did the free mint in a more bullish time, people would be more happy to hold on for longer just because they don't feel like they need to try and grab point 0.2 ETH or profit right away
yeah,
if they can get it.
yep, yep. All right. Last question is yours, I think.
I don't see it on the email, but
Oh, you don't? All right. Yeah, that's right. We added it right at the end, which I didn't want to add, but you sort of
why I did
uh,
tell them on Twitter that we would
sprung on
address it
me.
too.
Mr. AK says, "Why is Jamie Musings so much better than you in the word guessing game?"
That's a great question.
I think it's a loaded question. I'm not.
The
I
premise
don't
is fully
agree with the
accurate.
premise.
There's
I
no
do not
there's
agree with
no
the
way
premise.
you can disagree with the premise.
Uh, I will admit that I had a couple of whiffs
Couple.
early on.
You did, but have I ever had any that were nearly as bad as those? No. Pepper, Pepper
Well,
and
the
OpenSea
OpenSea
were
one
just the
was
worst.
awful. I agree. The Pepper one, I'm gonna say there's some that.
Unacceptable.
Should we play the game again?
Yeah, I think that was the plan.
Mm-hmm. Should we maybe explain the game for new listeners?
Sure.
So the game is called What Am I Thinking? And the way it works is that Jamie and I will each think for a few moments, come up with a word, and then we'll count down three, two, one, and both say our word at the same time. And then let's say I say pineapple and Jamie says rock. Then the goal is for us to think about what word is sort of like in between those two, and then to win or to end the game, we have to agree and both say the same word at the same time, and you just keep going back and forth until you
Yeah.
pick the same word. And it
I
was
would, by the way,
originally
for that one, I would say coconut. Between pineapple and rock, I would
Mhm.
go with coconut.
Okay. I hadn't thought about it, and I'm not going to think about it anymore. It it was originally conceived because we were giving out POAPs to listeners, and we needed like a password for it. But then POAP started being terrible, and we decided to stop doing that idea.
Yes.
Anyway, let's play. Let me think. Um, all right, I'm good.
3, 2, 1. Blanket.
Passport.
Passport and blanket. Passport and blanket. Okay, I have a word.
All right, me too.
3, 2, 1. Flight.
Hotel. Oh, I was gonna say flight.
Flight
Well, I was
and
gonna say
hotel.
plane. I think actually.
Yeah, because they give out
But
those blankets, right?
yeah,
Flight
but then I
and
was like
hotel.
hotel. Yeah.
Flight and hotel. I got one, I think. 3,
Yeah.
2, 1. Travel.
Travel.
Done. That was easy.
We are getting better at this. Like
We
the
are,
first
definitely.
5 times we played, we'd
But
say
we were
20
so
words.
close to being good because
Yeah.
we would get words that were right next to each other. That there was
Yeah.
there was no space
It'd be
between
like
them.
Zen and Buddhism, and then
Yeah, or
Japan
peanut butter and
and Rom.
jelly. Oh, I guess you could
Yeah.
say sandwich, but that's besides the point. You get the idea. We were very
Yeah.
close, and it was tough to get in between them. This
Yeah.
is the end of the episode. Basically, we got to
This
say
is
some
the end of the
things. Should we
episode.
talk about NFTGo briefly?
Let's
Our
talk about
lovely
NFTGo.
sponsors.
NFTGo before we go. There's this new segment that we have at the end. Yeah. Yeah, NFTGo is an analytics platform website, free to use, that they sponsor the podcast. We love them. Not just because they sponsor the podcast, but because it's genuinely a good platform.
It's sort of the opposite, right? They sponsor the podcast because we love them. Because again, we had a lot of people say, "Hey, can we?" And they were just not the right fit. But this website has great information cataloged in a good way that can help people that are interested in buying NFTs or selling
And more.
NFTs or
Yeah.
just investigating in NFTs in general. Just a lot of great data compiled in a nice way on that website.
Yeah, we did a Twitter Spaces with them like 3 nights ago, I think, where it was pretty fun.
Feels like less. I think
Yeah.
2,
Time is
but
weird.
that doesn't matter. The specific number of days ago is not relevant, but I'm going to hold your feet to the fire here and say it was 2.
And I think they do them like once a week, and they sort of like go through a variety of projects and like evaluate like them, look at them through the lens of different elements of the website, and in terms of like
Right.
ownership and rarity distribution, whale distribution. You can see like what the whales are doing and whether whales are accumulating or selling. There's so many things you can do in like the analytics
Yeah.
sphere. It's insane. Yeah.
Right. And that's, like in traditional investing, a big thing that happens is the very big investors, like once a quarter, have to let the SEC know what their holdings are for any companies they own, like over, X percentage of is. And then people get to see this and then react to it. But by the time you're seeing it, that information is a little bit old. It's a little bit stale. And sometimes that stuff has already moved up. But the way the blockchain works, everybody can see what everybody else is doing as it's happening.
Yeah.
And so if you are, tracking smart people, that can be very beneficial. And again, being able to do it in real time, very different, something you couldn't do in traditional investing.
Yeah.
And NFTGo has this information for you in a good digestible format.
There you go. NFT Go before you go. This is catching on.
Yeah, we got a slogan for them that they didn't know about. This has been episode 44. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
Two bored apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two bored apes talking NFTs.